is enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed. Let me start by saluting the quotes of Mahatma Gandhi. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. So today, we are going to discuss an amazing topic, which is nothing but consumerism in Indian economy. So when you hear the term consumerism, the first thing that literally comes to any one of us is what? The consumer. That is we. Definitely we are called as consumers because we buy products from the markets. That's why we are called as consumers. But here, in today's discussion, I'll be telling you in detail what consumerism literally means, the different versions or the aspects of consumerism. So the term consumerism has two different meanings, and these are literally contrary to each other. It's entirely different. And the first definition or meaning of consumerism is very simple. It refers to the production or interest of buyers or consumers of goods and services against dangerous or defective goods. And this concept was introduced in the year 1950. And the second definition of consumerism is entirely different. And I think this definition is something in which we have to focus or give more emphasis. So the second definition goes like this. Consumerism refers to the phenomena of people's purchasing in excess to their basic needs. That means they just keep on and on and on consuming without even bothered about what their necessity is, what their comfort is. They are just bothered about possessing more and more goods. That's it. And in this presentation, I would love to focus, or literally, I'll be talking about the second definition of consumerism, because this is what we have to really focus. So, talking on to the second definition, let us go to the theoretical background. We have to know how this concept originated. I told you in 1915, the concept of consumerism was introduced. But that is basically, or it is purely with respect to protection of the interest of buyers of goods and services against defective or dangerous goods. But the second concept of consumerism, it gained importance in the year 1960. And we have to see the theoretical background, how this definition or meaning of consumerism gained popularity. Actually, this new meaning of consumerism, it can be traced back in the writings of an economist and a sociologist named Thurston Veblen. Veblen is a famous economist, and this concept was focused on in his book, The Theory of Leisure Class. And it is he who has coined the term conspicuous consumption. And this term, conspicuous consumption, is very much associated with the term consumerism. Because conspicuous consumption means status symbol goods. It's also called as Veblen effect, that is purely economics. Let me explain to you what is status symbol goods. It's very simple. Goods which literally give prestige or a kind of status to the consumers. For example, if you buy a diamond or a jewelry, definitely, you're possessing a kind of prestige. Yeah, I am possessing that. That's the meaning. So, for example, if my neighbor is going and buying a diamond, so definitely anyone will say, oh, I'll be saying, okay, my neighbor is having a diamond jewelry set with her. So why can't I have that? So she is not known for what she is, but for the diamond set that she has purchased. So that is status symbol goods, and that is coined as conspicuous consumption by Veblen. And consumerism is very much, the second meaning of consumerism is very much associated to this concept. And this was coined, as I told you, in 1960, and this concept of consumerism or this conspicuous consumption later on in United States, it began to spread. And when it was spreading in United States, it was called as consumerism. And a person called Vance Packard, we have discussed the two meanings here. One is a positive meaning and one is a negative meaning, which is, mass consumption. So Vance Packard, in his book, The Waste Makers, in 1960, he tried to show or project or feature consumerism, as excessive materialism and waste, which means that he showed that consumerism has a positive word meaning. At the same time, it has a negative word meaning also. That is excessive materialism and waste. That is, we are keeping on and on and on purchasing without even considering our basic needs. That is what Vance Packard focused on his book. And now, even many domestic theorists also, they also defined consumerism in 1929, and everyone have their own views. So in order to see one of the domestic theorists viewpoint regarding consumerism. So a domestic theorist named Frederick in 1929, according to him, he said that the way, consumerism is literally a way to break the vicious deadlock of low standard of living, and that is to spend freely. And even if you waste resource also, it's okay, but you just keep on spending. That was his viewpoint. So that is literally, again, it makes us think why we should spend like that, even though we don't need that. That is the viewpoint of some people. So now let us see the rise of consumerism in the world, because we need to know how consumerism, this concept of consumerism, has come up in the world. So consumerism, it arrived just after Industrial Revolution. We are all aware about the concept of Industrial Revolution. Now that has brought about a lot of changes in the economy. It was, in fact, what you can say, we have seen an unusual change in our economy. So this consumerism, which arrived just after Industrial Revolution, has brought about a lot of changes in the economy. In the 19th century, which was previously, the previous norm was what? Scarcity of resources. We didn't have sufficient resources in order to meet our own needs and demands. So this Industrial Revolution mainly focused in overcoming all these problems. So when Industrial Revolution happened, or it was created, an unusual economic situation for the first time in history was created. And a lot of products was available in outstanding quantities, at the same time in outstanding low prices. And most important or the vital thing which we have to focus here is, even though the goods were available in outstanding quantities and at low prices, outstandingly low prices, it was virtually available to everyone, each and every person. It's not like the higher class or the middle class, could possess it. Even the people belonging to the lower class could literally possess the good, because variety of goods were available, a lot of choices were there, and the price was low. That was the situation. So definitely, when this is a situation, you can just imagine a lot of people will be rushing to market to buy the products. It's me, you, or anybody. They'll be like, okay, if the price is low, we'll be definitely going, yeah, even I can purchase. For example, take the case of cell phones, mobile phones. Previously, it was a commodity of luxury. It was basically a luxury commodity, but now it has become or turned out to be a necessity. Even you can find a mobile phone in the hands of anyone. Even a coconut, tree climber, literally he'll have a cell phone in his hand, and that's not a normal one. You can expect a smartphone with him. So it's because the prices come down and a lot of choices are available in the market. That's the situation now. So when this consumerism, as I told you, it started spreading or became a revolution after Industrial Revolution, and when this was spreading, the era of mass consumption began, and that is the era where the concept of consumerism is applicable. If you take the case of Western countries, what is happening there? In West, consumerism has become the hallmark of many world economies, and in the West, it is a common phenomenon. For them, they consume more. There is no limit for their consumption patterns, and that is why they have become industrialized, developed countries. But even this same pattern, is being adopted by a country like India. See, if you take the case of, a developing country like India, they are focusing more on consumerism aspects. They are getting obsessed, or an obsession of consumerism is there. And it is like, if that happens, literally, it has positive effects as well as negative effects. But the people of India, how they are. It's not like nothing will go in balanced, because our country is like that. So that again caused the problem for the people of India. So now we saw the rise of consumerism in the world. So now I would like to say about the rise of consumerism in India, because we are talking about the topic consumerism in Indian economy. So this era of consumerism, it started in India in 1991, and that too after the LPG model, which is nothing but liberalization, privatization and globalization. During 1990 to 91, India was facing a very grave situation. It was extremely bad. The situation was very bad. It had a lot of deficit. India was facing serious deficiency in foreign trade, foreign trade balance. And by the end of 1990, this amount of deficit, it became 10,644 crores. And at the same time, the foreign exchange stock, it started decreasing. So you can imagine how grave the situation of India could be. It's very bad, and the government is really tensed what to do, and they even resorted to taking loans or borrowings. So what they did is they took huge amounts of loan from International Monetary Fund or IMF, and they even mortgaged, India had to mortgage 46 tons of gold for a short-term period from the Bank of England. This was a situation. Apart from all these things, when you take the case of domestic inflation during that time, 1990, it was double digits, which was literally 12% in 1991. So you can imagine, if inflation is 12%, what is the situation? You can just imagine how it will be, literally. So much of problems will be there in the economy. So, in order to overcome all these situations, the government had to do something. So then they introduced a model called the LPG. As I told you before, it is nothing but liberalization, privatization and globalization. And this model, it was introduced, and the government, the main aim of this model was making the Indian economy as fast as well as growing and also to be globally competitive. Because we need an economy to be equally and globally competitive. Only then we'll have a place in the world markets. Else India will still be underdeveloped. India has to attain development. India has to attain a lot of things. So for that we have to be globally competitive too. So this LPG model has literally helped, you can say, it has literally helped the Indian economy to progress further in respect of economic growth as well as development. And this reform, that is LPG, was a great success because many industries came up at the same time. Lot of developments were made in the economy. At the same time, another important point which we should note here is this rise of consumerism in India. It has also led to the rise of many multinational corporations or MNCs. They came forward. After this reform, the situation of India was normal. The inflation rate came down. India was in a very good situation where it can face all the problems. So many MNCs, they focused India, they targeted India, and they came up to establish the industries or firms or do their business. And that again is the biggest advantage for India. You know why? When MNCs establish their companies here, definitely it will increase the standard of living of the people. How? Definitely more employment opportunities. People will be provided with employment opportunities. So what happens when employment is there? They get income. Accordingly, their standard of living increases. And MNCs, when you get employed in an MNC, you can imagine the amount of salary you can get. Literally, it will be higher than compared to any other job. So the standard of living also increases. And another point is rise of consumerism, which contributes to globalization, as I told you. So globalization is a driving factor behind making goods and services, available to the people in outstanding quantities, which was previously a difficulty or a hurdle. We all know what is globalization. It is nothing but very simple. It is the integration of all the nations of the world, right? So when globalization was there, people could get goods not only which is produced in India, but also from abroad. The import and export policy started, gaining importance. So people could get goods which was produced in America or London or wherever it is. And even the Indians could export their commodities. And the process was going on like that. So because of globalization, we the Indians, even now, we could get a lot of commodities from abroad. So that has really helped us to strengthen our relationship with the other countries. And even this globalization as well as this LPG model, has literally made our needs or necessities into something. It has even become the luxuries. The luxuries has turned into necessities. That is what I want to say. Because items, as I already mentioned, items which were considered as luxury before, like television, cell phones, computers, air conditioners, etc., that is now viewed as necessity. And I think literally everyone will definitely agree to this point. Because as I told you before, even a coconut tree climber, you cannot find him without a cell phone, that is without a smartphone. And you cannot find a home without a television. That is a basic necessity of any Indian now. So this, which was once a commodity of comfort, a commodity of luxury or comfort, whatever, and now it has become a necessity. Just like having food. Without food, we can't survive. So just like that, this has become a necessity for us. So that is the situation of India now. And that is the rise of consumerism. So we can see how far consumerism has, grown. And I want to see some of the demographic features which has favored the growth of consumerism in India. See, we have discussed, I have spoke regarding the rise of consumerism in the world as well as India. Now, it is the demographic features. Literally, some of the features to favor the growth of consumerism in India. We all know, with respect to population, what is India's place? And after China, India stands second. So India is the second most populous country with more than 127 crores of people. That is the latest data till July 2015. And India's population, it is growing at a rate of 1.6 per annum. Really good, right? So that, which means that India has 17.25% of world's population. And what we have to note here is that more than 50% is below 25 years and more than 65% is below 35 years. So what do you understand from this? 25 and 35 years. It constitutes the young population, definitely the young population. And India is blessed with a wonderful or enormous young population. Therefore, India has a young population which promises huge retail prospects, and it has even attracted many foreign companies. And when the young population is more, the tendency to purchase more and more of commodity also increases. And for the youth, for the youth people, shopping has become a necessity. It is not a leisure thing for them. Because this is the concept and this is the viewpoint of some people. But literally, according to my point of view, I would like to say that shopping, for youth, shopping is not a necessity. It is a leisure activity. Because why, I'll tell you. Olden days, when we go to the shop, when we go out to purchase something, we'll be like, we'll be going out, whatever is required, we'll buy and come for home, whatever is required. But nowadays, there are a lot of malls, big malls, etc. So once when we go out there, for us, it is not a necessity. Why? I'm simply going out. It is a leisure activity for me. If you want, you buy and come. So that is the situation now. People are not bothered about what they're doing. They just enjoy purchasing because they have money in hand. That is another thing. Another thing is with respect to purchasing power parity. If you talk with respect to purchasing power parity, what is the position of India? India's economy is the third largest in the world as measured by PPP, which is nothing but purchasing power parity, with a GDP of US dollar 7.996 trillion. That is the latest data, that is April 2015. So you can see the purchasing power of parity of our country, literally it is more. It ranks third. And the rise in consumer spending, increasing disposable income, consumer confidence, and the ease of doing business index in India. All these factors will definitely boost consumerism in India. In fact, it is a positive thing. All these are some of the positive effects of consumerism also. Because when we have a comfort zone somewhere to start a business, definitely anyone will resort doing a business there. Same thing, because India has provided a wide market for the people or for the MNCs to come here, start a business and just explore. So that again, when we connect it with consumerism, that again has literally increased. It has given a lot of opportunity for people to get more and more products. So what happens? They keep on buying. So from necessity, they're moving to greed. That is what is happening here. And the main problem in India, is that as we already discussed, the population problem. One of the main problem which India is facing is nothing. It's due to large population. At the same time, we don't have sufficient resources. That is scarcity of resources there. We don't have enough resources to provide for this growing population. So what happens? Definitely we have to resort to some other options, alternative, in order to avail all these resources. So there is less per capita consumption, and thus the overall consumption is high. Even though there is less per capita in consumption, the overall consumption level is high. That is a point. That is again because of consumerism. And I have spoken about the business index. I told you India provides a wide market, or it provides a wide place for doing business at very comfortably or very ease. What is the current rate India ranks? India is ranking, India ranks 142 out of 189 countries. It is 142 out of 189 countries for doing a business index in India, for having a comfortable place. So India's, index it's for the year 2015, and that literally has given a hike for the people to consume or to purchase more and more goods. Another thing which I would like to focus here is, apart from all these things, these are some of the demographic features which is favoring the growth of consumerism in India. Apart from all these things, I would like to talk about the McKinsey Global Report, which is MGI. It is a report done in 2007. The McKinsey Global Institute, they conducted a survey. In the survey, and they prepared a report called the Bird of Gold. It's the Bird of Gold. And in the year 2007, they projected 3 major factors that will take place in India. You see, a McKinsey Global Institute, some other institute, which is not of India, they projected that 3 major factors will take place in India. That means why they have predicted that? Because keeping on in view or par with the current scenario, current situation. So let us see what are the 3 factors that this institute, that McKinsey Global Institute, has projected regarding India. The first major factor is nothing, very simple. See, if the overall economic growth is remains around 7 to 8% in a long term, for a long term, then the real consumption will grow from rupees 17 million in 2005 to rupees 70 billion in 2025. From 17 to 70. See how it is increasing in 15 years. That is it. So exactly, because if our economic growth is like this, definitely that shows that more and more people, they will start consuming more and more goods. That is the meaning here. And the second factor, what they predicted is the middle class people. We know that India is a country where, the majority of people belongs to the middle class. So this middle class, which is defined as households with disposable income of rupees 2 lakh to 10 lakh a year, which comprised about 5% of the population in 2005, will definitely increase to 41% by 2025. So 5 to 41. Again, it's a hike or an increase in the population ratios. That's just middle class people. That means we know that middle class people have the tendency of purchasing more and more things. That again is another thing which we have to note. The third factor, according to McKinsey Global report, is that India's saving rate, it will definitely or gradually it will decrease. Gradually it will decline from 28% of the disposable income in 2005 to 22% in 2025. That is, Indian people are having a tendency of spending more. At the same time, they even save a little bit. So the McKinsey, the MCI report, they are saying that by 2025, from 28%, which literally they are saving, it will decrease to 22%. That means even the rate of saving will also decrease. And what about that? If the rate of saving is decreasing, what happens? Definitely, the purchasing power of people is increasing. If the saving is less, the expense is more or the expenditure is more. They'll be keeping on and on and on spending. That is it. And this is because India's demography becomes more youthful. That's what I said. For youth, shopping is not a necessity. It is a leisure kind of activity. That is the reason. And currently, according to in 2005, into the Indian market, it was ranking 12th. But by 2013, the position for India in the world consumer market is 9th. India ranks 9th position in the world consumer market. And this report even predicts that by 2025, the Indian consumer market is predicted to be the 5th largest market in the world. So in 2013, it was 9. From 12, it became to 9. And they're saying, now currently it is 9. So by 2025, if this goes on like this, definitely it will become the 5th largest consumer market in the world. So definitely you can see India is just going on and it's going. That's it. And the Indian market, it is one of the most promising in the world, and is fast evolving also. Because as I told you, lot of demographic features as well as many other factors support the growth of many industries in India. That is one of the major reasons why consumerism is also growing. Because why do people establish industries here? Definitely, it is well known to us that they establish for them to promote their products as well as to earn profit. So when they find a good market or a place, they'll definitely come up, they'll start setting industries, and then what happens really, more and more goods is available, so people have an opportunity to avail or to access them. So consumerism is on the hike. It literally, the purchasing power of people increases, and they come and on they purchase the products. And according to this McKinsey Global Institute, there is another report also. They have even categorized the consumers into consumers or the Indian households, you can call, into 5 categories. That is, they've classified them based on their disposable income. They have classified the Indian households based on their disposable income. That is, the first one is the deprived class. That is, deprived classes are people belonging to the category who's having less than 90,000 INR rupees, whose income is less than 90,000 INR. And the second one is aspirers. And aspirers are people who belong to the class or who is between 90,000 to 2 lakh INR or Indian rupees. And the third one is seekers. Seekers are people who are between 2 lakh to 5 lakh Indian rupees. And the next one is strivers. So they are between 5 lakh to 1 million Indian rupees. So you can just imagine the strivers is like, too much. And finally, we have the global Indians, which is definitely more than 1 million Indian rupees. So these are the 5 categories of Indian households which the McKinsey Global Institute have categorized based on their disposable income. And this report, it literally states that the number of people in the deprived group, I told you in the deprived group, people's income will be less than 90,000 rupees. And that group will plunge to 22% of population by 2025 from 54% in 2005. And this is taking into account of the population levels, that is 29% in 2005. So we take on the basis of that, definitely this population will increase to 54% by 2025, the deprived class. So what will happen to this aspirers, seekers, strivers and global Indians? What about those categories? We'll see to it. This report also implies that the aspirers as well as the seekers, they will be more than 291 million people, and that they will definitely work in order to become aspirers or to the seekers to fall into that category. That is what they're talking about. And mainly the most important thing which we have to note here is that the demographic features that has literally favored the growth of middle class people as well as consumerism in India. That is the most important thing which we have to note here. Also, we can even see a typical middle class. If you talk about middle class people, a typical Indian middle class people or a household, they spend about 50% of the total income or daily expenses, and the rest is saved. But do you think this will be the same as years move on? Now it is 2016. When it is 2020 or 25 or 30, this will not be the case. Definitely, what they spent will be double of what I have told you now. 50% can even become 100 or 200. It can go like that, because the consumerism is emerging like that, and people are having a tendency to go on and on and on purchase products like that. That is the reason. And the Indian consumer market, as I told you, which is predicted to be the 5th largest market in the world by 2025, has another important feature also. Because of the growth of economy in this space, which is like, as I told you, 7 to 8%, that literally makes the people to predict or show that, definitely India will have a very good market. It will be the 5th largest consumer market in the world by 2025. And other factors, some of the other factors which we have to focus here is that we know people in the industrialized countries, that is our developed countries, they constitute or they make up only 20 to 20.5% of the world population. But even though they constitute only 20.5% of the world population, how much they consume? What is their consumption? We'll be thinking that, okay, if the population is less, the consumption is less. That will be our ideology, because the population of India is too much. It is too much, definitely. So we consume more. So when we think that, okay, if the population is less, the consumption will also be less. But that is not the case. Because in industrialized developed countries, even though the population is only 20.5%, their consumption is not like that. It constitutes 80% of the world's resources. And literally, they produce 80% of waste. It's too high. And this is due to a pattern of economic development that ensures that people go on and on consuming even more than what they literally need. The concept of greed again comes there. But whereas in case of India, even though when you compare India with the USA, you can say that the consumption of an Indian is literally, lesser than that of a US person. But the amount of wastage, even the amount of wastage produced by US citizen is less than that of an Indian person. But when you talk about how can you overcome all these problems, definitely USA is having much advanced technologies in order to overcome the problems of wastages or even the resource also. That is, a country which is known, a country known for maximum consumerism is United States of America. In that country, the population of India is nearly 3 to 5 times more than that of USA. But the consumption, when you talk about the consumption, it is literally less. It is just 1/8 of USA. And USA produces a lot of waste, as well as it even leads to a lot of wastage of resource also. At the same time, they're able to still be a developed country, or they're able to progress themselves. But why India is not able to do that? It is again the question of technology. We are having inadequate technology to do all those things. That is again another reason. And India is rapidly, moving into this unsustainable pattern of economic growth and development. It is seen that today's consumption patterns, we very well know that the consumption pattern, what we are having, it is not only depleting the resources, This is not really, because we know that we are having less amount of resources. Even that has been overexploited and depleted. It is even, widening the inequalities in consumption in different societies. Because we know India is a country where we have a higher class and a lower class, and always there is a wide inequality, or there is a gap between the rich and the poor. So this again, consumerism is literally, because of the consumption pattern, there is a wide gap between the rich and the poor, and that again is because the income provided to the people is not in a proper way. There is unequal distribution of income and wealth in the country. That is another problem. Why there is a difference in the inequality in the consumption patterns in different societies. And the new generation, when we talk about the new generation, we are growing up, without knowing what quality goods are. I'll come to that, because before going to that, I would like to talk about some of the effects of consumerism. We know that, be it anything, it has a good side and a bad side. So similarly, consumerism also, it has a positive effect as well as negative effect. So far, while I was talking about the demographic features, definitely we'll be knowing some of the positive features of consumerism, because definitely I told you, one is more industry production, because we have already discussed that when more and more industries come up or MNCs come and settle here, definitely the industrial production increases. When industrial production increases, it provides gainful employment opportunities to people. When gainful employment opportunities provided, the third thing is what? It increases the standard of living of people, because the fourth thing is they are getting better incomes or higher income. The income is increasing. Again, their lifestyle will change, and people will start purchasing purchasing products which they literally couldn't possess before. Again, consumerism is increasing there. There are many advantages of consumerism, because it provides employment opportunities, it leads to the growth of the country, it leads to change in the living standard, it even leads to increase in per capita as well as national income. But these are some of the positive effects. At the same time, you have a negative side also. Negative effects of consumerism in India. Let us see what are some of the negative effects or the negative impact of consumerism. Because of consumerism, what are some of the negative effects that we are facing now? See, the driving factor of this anticipated growth of consumerism is rising urbanization. We all know that urbanization is what? People moving from villages to towns. So this urbanization, no one wants to live in villages. Do anyone prefer to live in a village or a rural area? No. People all wants to move to urban areas. They just want to move on and on. They just want to go like that. So urban areas, literally, when people start moving from rural to urban area, that again is another, it's another reason for increase in consumerism, and that is a negative factor also. I'll tell you why it is like that. We all know that India is a country where we have two different sections. We have the urban people as well as the rural people. And after independence, since independence, what happened was like the rural people in the rural area, they started moving to urban areas. When they started moving to urban areas, they started availing more and more facilities. They started getting more and more facilities, and that literally helped them to develop themselves. And that again was a big advantage for the country, because when we start shifting from rural to urban areas, the economic development of the country also increases, because more people are involved. That is the thing which we have to note there. So let me talk about the rural population and the urban population. The rural population, it is around 60%, 61 to 60%, but the urban population was initially it was only 27 to 28%, but now it has increased to 31.16% the urban population. So from 27 it has increased to around 31.16%. So that shows that people prefer staying in urban areas rather than rural areas. You know why? Because they are able to avail more facilities, more commodities, more goods. So anyone would like to stay there. So that is again a negative effect of consumerism, because people are not purchasing according to what they need. They are just keeping on and on and on going. So from where these resources will also come. See, when you're purchasing something, definitely we got to have a resource also with us. But that is also not there. It is getting depleted, because I told you, again I'm stressing the point, the population of India, it is too high. So in order to feed this larger or greater population, we need enough and more resources, but that is not available. And when urbanization also increases, definitely, again the problem of scarcity of resource still prevails. The second is young population. As I already told you, young population, for them, they're not bothered about what is necessity, what is luxury. For them, everything is a necessity. Even luxury is also a necessity for them. That is the thing. And next is higher income and the quest for a better living. See, why people move to urban areas? Because they want to increase their standard of living. They want to earn more income. They want to change their lifestyle. That is the reason why they move on to urban areas. If you stay in a rural area, you won't get many facilities there. So in order to overcome all those problems, in order to avail better facilities, they shift to the urban areas. Another negative effect of consumerism is modern societies. They uses large amount of goods, especially those that are manufactured for one-time use and are extremely wasteful. So we all, even including you, me, or anyone, so we are on to using more and more, goods. We just want to use goods which are one-time use. We just buy the product, we crush it, we throw it. Take the case of mineral water. For example, I go to a market or I go to a shop. I buy a purchase giving 20 rupees or 30 rupees. I buy 1 liter of bottle water. Okay. After drinking, what I do literally, I'll just crush the bottle, throw the bottle. I'm not keeping it in the bottle to refill the water again. I'm just bothered. That's it. So, not only in the case of this particular product, be it anything, even the people who are producing the commodities now, they are producing in such an aspect in which they are not bothered about whether the people have to reuse it. They just make it for one-time use. And they become extremely wasteful also. And the next thing is, another negative effect of consumerism in India is, today, consumption patterns, as I told you, they are not only depleting the natural resources, they are also creating inequalities. When inequality comes, again, a lot of problem comes in the economy. Next thing is, people. As I told you, people in the industrialized countries. When industrialized countries, people in India are always, they are trying, to copy what the Western people are doing. A kind of demonstration effect is there. So we people are having that habit of doing that. That is what the Western people is doing, we'll be doing it. That is, if a commodity, for example, take the case of dresses, if we are getting a better brand, okay, the same brand is produced in India, but if you're able to purchase a better brand from outside, even though the same thing is produced in India, people are having a tendency of purchasing it from outside. They think that will give them a status, that will give them a kind of prestige. Yeah, I have got this from America, I have got this from London, I've got this from Australia. But you'll be getting the same product in India also. But for that, they don't even bother. For example, the case of cell phones. See, we do have Indian companies which is producing this smartphones with the same features which the foreign company also provides. But people don't prefer that. They just prefer iPhones. Why? Because they think, or Samsung or whatever it is, they think that the assembling or the features of that company or what is offered by the foreign companies will be 10 times better than what an Indian produce. But they're forgetting something there. See, when we are buying a product from outside, definitely we have to pay taxes. But when we ourselves is able to buy the same product from our country, maybe the brand is different, but with the same features, we need not pay taxes. And also one more thing, when we purchase commodity from our own country, we are even contributing more to our country's growth rather than spending on somebody else's, some other country's development. We have to remember that because the youngsters, normally we have a tendency of purchasing goods from branded items, which is not exclusively made in India. So when you do that, or when you resort to such kind of practices, we should sit back and think, we are contributing to the development of some other country. Because when we buy a product from them, it is contributing to their development. It is not for our development. So that again is another problem. So all these are some of the negative effects of consumerism. Another thing which I would like to say is, apart from all these things, I told you there are many negatives of consumerism, there are positive effects also. Another negative effect of consumerism in India is, in India, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, Sister's Day or Raksha Bandhan Day and even Akshaya Tritiya, they are celebrated as part of consumerism. Why I mentioned these particular functions, and I said they are a part of consumerism. Because in any of these functions, if we want to go, definitely we have to purchase some other commodity and go with that. So that is why this is considered as a part of consumerism. For example, for Raksha Bandhan Day, if literally I want to tie a Raksha Bandhan or want to give something to my brother, I cannot go I cannot go without buying any product and go wish him Raksha Bandhan. That will be a little displeasing. He won't be liking it. So I'll be going with some amount of gift to please them. So again, I have to purchase goods. So according to people's need. See, there is no particular limit for the festivals or the functions conducted in India. It is just very diverse. So accordingly, you need products for that. So again, people start purchasing. People is having a tendency of celebrating or purchasing whatever they have. So they keep on and they just go on like that. Now that again is a problem which we are facing. And India is a country where you have a diverse culture, you have a lot of functions, you have a lot of festivals, and because of that, even the consumerism is also in the hike. Another thing is that apart from all these things, consumerism also has a negative impact on the environment. while economic growth is important to India, at some point of time, it should definitely take into consideration its environment too. Because we know that when an industry is set up, definitely it will lead to the production of goods, and definitely there will be a lot of wastage of resources. It even leads to a lot of pollutions. Whatever waste is produced by the industry, it is dumped either into water or into some other bodies, water, sea, land, etc. So what happens? It is affecting the environment. Pollution is taking place there. It even leads to global warming. USA. USA is a country, because of this excessive consumerism, it has literally led to global warming. And when it comes to India, the same thing is happening. It is literally happening over here also. That is another important thing which we have to notice here, and that is a negative effect or a bad thing for consumerism. Another thing is that when we talk about culture, consumerism also destroys culture. That is also yet again another defect of consumerism. As I told you, India has a rich culture, and it could easily disappear also with the new retailers and companies. See, in olden days when there was a function, normally, if for example, if you have a haldi function, this turmeric function, we used to make turmeric, they used to produce it homes, or they used to, take all the stuffs from home itself. It is homemade kind of things. But nowadays, you just go to the market, you get different kind of haldi powders or any kind of metal what you want. So what is happening? Literally, consumerism is on the hike. People are even becoming lazy because of consumerism. Another thing is, most of the households, they're becoming lazy. Because when the number of facilities increases, we definitely opt for that. No one is going to do, what our grandparents or our ancestors did in the past. That is another thing. The next thing is, India may even run into problems implementing a consumerist culture. See, for one, that is the middle class. I told you, the middle class, they contribute the major part of Indian population. And the middle class, which is the largest class in India, they has to have a purchasing power, and only then consumerism will work. Because for this, the government has to increase the standard of living of the people by giving them more income or salaries. So the living quality and income of the Indian middle class, it must be increased in order for them to adopt a consumerist lifestyle. So why I spoke about this is, we know that the people of India, they are of different categories. You have the upper class, you have the middle class, you have the lower class. If all these three categories should go equally, means there should be some, benefits from the government also. Only then you can go on like that. As I told you, there is a wide inequality in consumption patterns in different societies, and that is because of unequal distribution of income and wealth in the society. That is the biggest factor there. And now, I would like to conclude by saying that consumerism is extremely beneficial to Indian economy, no doubt in that, because it will definitely result in economic growth, more gainful employment opportunities, and at the same time, we can even get a variety of goods and services. So people can go to the market, they can get all these products from there. And however, the middle class, they must be able to buy so that the companies can sell. For that, again, the government has to make some provisions in which their purchasing power is also increased. So, if we consider consumerism in some other context, we can say that it is one of the most important factor which defines current economic state of the world. It just defines the current economic state. They're just not bothered about anything. So because of consumerism, if you buy a product or somebody else buy a product, based on that people start judging you nowadays. That's what I said initially in the beginning. That is conspicuous consumption. That is according to the product that you buy, people start valuing you. It is not about the person you are. That is a state of society now. So it is based on consumerism is a factor which is literally defines the current economic situation. We no longer live in a world where consumption was driven by need. We don't go to market and we don't buy commodities just to satisfy our basic needs. We definitely go to market rather than buying what is necessary for us. We purchase a lot of commodities which are unnecessary. That is what is happening now. So today's consumerism is just like use and throw. You just buy a product, you just use it, you just throw it. You're not bothered what happens later. And there is we are not even willing to repair or go for some kind of maintenance for that product. Straight away for a new one. It is just like out with old and in with new. So thus consumerism has moved from necessity to greed. So I would like to say that it is my personal point of view, consumerism should never be in this situation. It should not be from necessity to greed. It should be in a state of balance. So only then we'll be able to avail the positive effects as well as to minimize or to reduce the negative effects of consumerism. So it should be in a state of balance. This is what I have got to talk about consumerism. Thank you so much.